In a large, bustling command center on Earth, military leaders and scientists were gathered around a long table filled with screens showing images from space. Everyone was on edge and whispers filled the room. A big threat loomed over Earth. Alien ships were spotted in the far reaches of the solar system. It was the kind of news that could change everything. The atmosphere was thick with tension as the head of the military, General Thompson, addressed the group. "We've received strange signals from deep space. This could be a prelude to an invasion." His voice was serious, and everyone listened intently. The room was filled with experts who had studied alien technology and warfare, yet nobody could shake the feeling of uncertainty. They knew Earth's military was strong, but nothing could prepare them for the unknown. Among the soldiers present was Bonner, a seasoned fighter with a reputation for bravery. He had recently returned from a secret mission, one that had left him haunted by memories of loss. As he looked around the room, he saw fear in the eyes of his comrades. They were trained for battle, but facing an alien invasion was different. It was a battle for survival. Suddenly the lights flickered and all the screens went dark. Panic rippled through the command center. Alarms blared loudly, echoing the rising tension. People scrambled to figure out what had happened, but Bonner's instincts kicked in. He knew this was no ordinary blackout. As the emergency generators whirred to life, the screens flickered back on, showing a chilling sight. Massive alien ships, cloaked in advanced technology, were descending toward Earth. They were enormous, casting shadows over cities as they approached. The panic escalated into chaos, and General Thompson's voice cut through the noise, commanding everyone to focus. Then, the alien ships broadcast a message, their voices booming across the command center. "Earthlings, your defenses are weak. We will take your planet without a fight." Laughter followed, echoing through the speakers, making it clear they saw humanity as nothing more than a joke. The mocking tone ignited a fire in Bonner's heart. He couldn't let this stand. With a fierce look in his eyes, he turned to his fellow soldiers. "We may not have their technology, but we have something they don't: heart. We fight for our home, for our families, and for each other. We will show them what humanity is capable of." His words echoed with conviction, reminding everyone of what was at stake. They might be outnumbered and outgunned, but Bonner's resolve inspired them. As Bonner rallied his team, he felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He gathered a diverse group of soldiers, each with their unique skills and backgrounds. There was Sarah, a tech genius skilled in hacking and engineering, Marco, a sharpshooter known for his deadly accuracy, and Lee, a martial artist with incredible speed and agility. Together they represented the spirit of humanity, each one willing to fight against the overwhelming odds. In the quiet moments before the storm, Bonner took a deep breath. He remembered why he joined the military: to protect those he loved and to stand up against injustice. The camaraderie among his team was palpable as they exchanged determined looks. They were ready to face the alien threat, knowing they were fighting not just for their lives, but for the future of Earth. As the command center prepared for the impending invasion, Bonner and his team strategized. They studied maps, discussed tactics, and made plans to defend their home. They knew the aliens had superior technology, but they also had one advantage: the element of surprise. Humanity had faced great challenges before, and Bonner believed they could rise to this occasion. Just before they stepped out to face the threat, Bonner looked at his team and said, "Remember, we are stronger together. Let's show these aliens what we're made of." With that, they exited the command center, hearts pounding with adrenaline and determination. The calm before the storm was over. As they headed out, the laughter of the aliens faded into the background, replaced by the sound of human resolve. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and Bonner knew they would fight with everything they had. The stakes were high, but so was their spirit. The moment Bonner and his team stepped outside the command center, they were hit by a wave of urgency. The sun was setting, painting the sky a fiery red, but it felt like a warning rather than a beautiful sight. People were rushing around, trying to prepare for the alien invasion that was about to unfold. Military vehicles and troops filled the streets as everyone scrambled to their posts. As Bonner gathered his squad, he could see the worry in their eyes, but also a flicker of determination. They quickly made their way to their designated battle station, a fortified area on the outskirts of the city. On the way, they passed soldiers in full gear, readying their weapons and checking their equipment. The atmosphere was tense. You could almost feel the fear and anticipation in the air. When they arrived at the station, Bonner noticed that other teams were preparing for combat as well. The command center had issued urgent orders for all forces to stand ready. It was clear that the alien fleet was moving quickly, and time was not on their side. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared, the first wave of alien ships appeared in the sky, their dark silhouettes blocking out the stars. The aliens had arrived. The sight was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Bonner's heart raced as he saw the massive ships hover overhead, ready to unleash their power on the unsuspecting cities below. "Everyone, take your positions!" Bonner shouted. His voice cut through the rising tension, reminding everyone that they had a job to do. They knew the plan: defend the city at all costs and hold the line until reinforcements arrived. The first attack came suddenly. The alien ships unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, lighting up the night sky like fireworks. The ground shook as explosions erupted, sending debris flying in all directions. Bonner and his team ducked for cover behind a concrete barrier, adrenaline pumping through their veins. The destruction was overwhelming, but they couldn't afford to back down. "Marco, get to the rooftop! We need eyes on those ships," Bonner ordered. Marco nodded and quickly climbed a nearby staircase, his sharpshooting skills crucial for their survival. As chaos unfolded around them, Sarah activated her gear. She was in charge of the tech side of their defense. "I'm working on hacking their systems. If I can disable their targeting, we might have a chance," she yelled over the noise. Bonner glanced at Lee, who was preparing to engage the enemy up close. "Stay sharp, Lee. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for everyone down there," he reminded her. Lee nodded, her determination shining through as she readied her combat stance. The aliens landed on the ground and their soldiers poured out of the ships. They were tall, armored beings with weapons that glowed menacingly. Bonner felt his stomach drop, but he quickly pushed the fear aside. They had trained for this, and they couldn't let fear win. "Hold the line!" Bonner shouted as the first wave of alien soldiers advanced. The team sprang into action. Lee darted forward, using her speed to evade enemy fire and take down the first alien soldier with a swift kick. Bonner followed closely behind, using his training to engage in close combat. He was determined to protect his team and his home. As the battle raged on, Marco's voice came through their communication device. "I've got a clear shot at one of their ships. Cover me!" Bonner felt a surge of pride for his team as they fought together. Sarah had managed to disable the targeting system for a moment, allowing Marco to take a breath and aim carefully. With a steady hand, Marco pulled the trigger, and the bullet flew straight and true. It struck the alien ship, causing it to explode in a brilliant flash of light. The sound of victory echoed through the battlefield, boosting the morale of Bonner's team. "Nice shot, Marco!" Bonner cheered, but their celebration was short-lived. More alien soldiers were advancing, and they were now aware of the human presence. The tide was turning, but the battle was far from over. As the alien forces regrouped and prepared for a counterattack, Bonner realized they needed to change their strategy. They had gained some ground, but they could not allow themselves to become complacent. "We need to create a diversion," he said to his team. "Sarah, can you create a distraction with your tech?" "Leave it to me!" Sarah replied, her eyes shining with determination. The fight continued to rage around them, with each member of Bonner's team pushing themselves to the limit. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the future of their planet. As the explosions lit up the sky, Bonner felt a sense of purpose. They were humans, and they would not be defeated so easily. With newfound energy, Bonner led his team into the heart of the battle, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The real fight was just beginning, and he knew they had to stay united if they were going to stand a chance against the alien invaders. The chaos of the battlefield roared around Bonner and his team. The alien forces, with their towering figures and advanced weaponry, seemed overwhelming. But as the dust settled from the earlier explosion, Bonner realized they had a chance. The aliens were regrouping, and that provided a moment for the humans to strategize. "Sarah, what's your progress?" Bonner called out, moving closer to his tech expert. She was crouched behind a makeshift barrier, her fingers flying across a portable device. The glow of the screen lit up her focused face as she navigated through the alien systems. "I'm almost in!" "If I can take control of their communications, we might be able to confuse them," she shouted back, determination clear in her voice. Bonner felt a rush of hope. If they could disrupt the aliens' coordination, it could shift the battle in their favor. Meanwhile, Marco was still perched on the rooftop, scanning the area with his sniper rifle. "I've got eyes on their command ship. If we can take that down, we could cause chaos among their ranks," he called down, adrenaline pumping through him. "Do it!" Bonner replied, knowing that a well-placed shot could turn the tide of the battle. Marco took a deep breath, steadied his aim, and fired. The bullet soared through the air, striking the alien command ship. A bright explosion lit up the night sky, and for a moment the battlefield fell silent. The alien soldiers looked up in shock, and Bonner seized the opportunity. "Now! Charge!" he yelled, rallying his team forward. With renewed energy, they surged into the fray, pushing back against the enemy. Lee led the charge, her martial arts skills on full display as she dodged alien blasts and struck down foes with speed and precision. Bonner followed closely behind, his fists and feet working in unison as he fought alongside her. Together they moved like a well-oiled machine, taking out alien soldiers one by one. "Sarah, are you ready?" Bonner shouted, keeping an eye on her progress. "Almost! Just a few more seconds," she replied, her voice steady. The aliens were beginning to regroup after the loss of their command ship, their eyes filled with fury. Bonner could see their ranks tightening, forming a more organized front. He knew they had to act fast before the aliens could regain their composure. In that moment of chaos, Sarah's voice broke through the noise. "I'm in! I've got control of their communication network." Bonner's heart raced. "What can you do?" "I can send false commands and disrupt their coordination. They'll think they're being ordered to move, but I'll send them all in different directions." "Do it!" "Now," Bonner commanded, and Sarah nodded, quickly typing in commands. The sounds of battle continued to rage, but the team's hope began to rise. A moment later, alien soldiers started moving erratically. Some turned to fight their own, confused by Sarah's tactics. The sight of chaos among the enemy ranks was a sight to behold. Bonner couldn't help but grin as he saw the tide beginning to turn. "Keep pushing!" he shouted to his team, feeling the rush of victory surge within him. They pressed forward, taking advantage of the confusion. Marco continued to pick off targets from above, his shots ringing true as he took down enemy commanders. Each shot created more disarray among the alien soldiers. Lee, fueled by the change in momentum, fought with fierce determination. She delivered swift kicks and punches, and her movements seemed almost effortless. Bonner could see the fear in the aliens' eyes as they faced the humans with renewed confidence. "Let's finish this!" Bonner yelled, his heart pounding. They had worked hard to get to this point, and he wasn't about to let their efforts go to waste. With their spirits lifted, Bonner and his team pushed deeper into enemy territory. The aliens, once confident and mocking, were now retreating under the pressure of the human onslaught. As they fought, Bonner couldn't shake the feeling of hope that filled him. They were showing the aliens that humanity was not to be underestimated. They had heart, they had courage, and they would fight for their home. But as they continued to push forward, Bonner suddenly noticed a larger alien ship descending from the sky. It was different, more imposing than the others. A cold chill ran down his spine. "Everyone, watch out!" he shouted, raising his voice above the din. The massive ship landed heavily, sending shockwaves through the ground. The air crackled with energy as it prepared to unleash its weapons. Bonner felt the weight of the moment settle on his shoulders. They had turned the tide, but this new threat could change everything. "Lee, Marco, stay sharp. Sarah, can you disable that ship?" Bonner called out, his eyes fixed on the new threat. "I'll try!" Sarah shouted back, determination in her voice. The team was ready to face whatever came next. They had fought hard to reach this point, and Bonner knew they would give everything they had to protect their planet. With the new alien ship looming overhead, Bonner took a deep breath. The fight was far from over, but together they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. As the battle raged on, the team stood united, ready to prove that humanity would not back down. The tide had turned, but the ultimate victory was still within reach. The massive alien ship loomed over the battlefield like a dark cloud, casting a shadow on Bonner and his team. Its size was intimidating, and the air buzzed with an electric energy that made everyone on the ground tense. Bonner's heart raced as he watched the ship's weapon systems come online, glowing ominously. "Everyone, take cover!" Bonner shouted, urging his team to find shelter behind the rubble and debris scattered across the battlefield. The team quickly scrambled for safety, their training kicking in as they moved instinctively. The alien ship unleashed a powerful blast, a beam of energy that shot out and struck the ground. The impact created a massive explosion, sending dust and debris flying everywhere. Bonner shielded his eyes, feeling the heat from the blast even from his hiding spot. The ground shook violently, and for a moment, Bonner feared they might not survive this. "Sarah, can you disable that ship?" Bonner yelled, trying to be heard over the chaos. He knew they needed her skills more than ever. "I'm working on it! It has strong shields, but I think I can find a weakness," Sarah called back, her voice steady despite the danger. Bonner admired her focus. She was the heart of their team, using her tech skills to turn the tide in their favor. As the dust settled, Bonner glanced at his team. Marco was positioned on a nearby rooftop, scanning the alien ship for any vulnerabilities. Lee was readying her weapon, her eyes fierce and determined. Bonner could see the fear in their eyes, but also a burning desire to fight back. "Listen up! We've pushed them back before, and we can do it again," Bonner shouted to his team, rallying their spirits. "If we work together, we can take that ship down." With a shared nod, the team began to coordinate their efforts. Marco took aim at a section of the ship that looked less protected. "I'll draw their fire! When I do, you all hit them hard!" he shouted, his confidence returning. "Ready!" Bonner called, gripping his weapon tightly. With a deep breath, Marco fired a shot that struck the ship's hull. The alien vessel responded with a barrage of fire, energy blasts raining down on his position. Marco ducked and rolled to avoid the blasts, making his way to a better vantage point. "Over here! I'm okay!" he yelled, trying to keep everyone focused. Bonner took this opportunity to lead Lee and Sarah in an assault against the ship. They moved as one, dodging the blasts that flew past them. "Now's our chance!" Bonner shouted as they reached the base of the ship. Sarah began to hack into the ship's systems, her fingers flying over her portable device. "I can see their shield's energy levels. If I can just redirect some power..." The ship shook as the energy blasts continued to bombard their position. Bonner felt the adrenaline coursing through him, urging him to act. He glanced at Lee, who was ready to climb up the ship and reach its weapons system. "Lee, you can climb up and take out those cannons." "We need to create an opening," he ordered, and without hesitation she nodded. With her agile movements, Lee began to scale the side of the ship, using every bit of debris as a foothold. Bonner watched with pride as she moved swiftly, her focus unwavering. As Lee reached the top, she found herself face to face with an alien soldier defending the weapon systems. They clashed fiercely, but Lee's determination and skill shone through. She dodged and countered, using her training to gain the upper hand. Meanwhile, Marco continued to provide cover fire, picking off enemies that threatened Lee's position. With each shot, he felt more confident, knowing that he was protecting his teammates. "Sarah, how's it going?" Bonner yelled, hoping she could hold on through the chaos. "I've almost got it! Just a few more seconds!" she shouted back, her voice full of determination. Just then, the alien ship retaliated, launching a barrage of energy blasts aimed directly at Lee. Bonner felt his heart drop as he watched the explosions erupt around her. "Lee, get down!" he screamed, fear gripping him. Lee dodged just in time, narrowly escaping the blasts. With a fierce determination, she pressed on, finally reaching the weapon systems. She began to disable them one by one, her actions pivotal to their victory. Finally, Sarah's voice rang through the chaos. "I've done it! The shields are down! Now!" Bonner shouted, knowing this was their moment. "Everyone, charge!" With a unified roar, the team surged forward, ready to attack the now vulnerable alien ship. Marco fired one last shot, striking the ship's core. The explosion sent shock waves through the air, and Bonner felt the ground tremble beneath him. The alien ship began to falter, its power flickering as the crew inside struggled to regain control. Bonner could see the panic on their faces, and a rush of adrenaline surged through him. They had a real chance to win. "Keep pushing! We can end this!" Bonner yelled, leading his team forward. They were fighting not just for survival, but for the future of their planet. As they closed in, Bonner felt a fierce pride in his heart. Together, they were fighting against all odds, proving that humanity was not just a force to be reckoned with, but a force that would fight until the very end. The clash of titans was reaching its peak, and Bonner knew they were on the brink of something great. The air was thick with smoke and the smell of burnt metal as the last remnants of the alien ship crumbled to the ground. Bonner stood in the middle of the battlefield, catching his breath as he took in the scene around him. His heart raced not just from the adrenaline of the fight, but from the realization of what they had just accomplished. They had won. Cheers erupted from his team as they began to regroup. Bonner could see Marco high-fiving Lee, their faces lit up with exhilaration. Sarah was scanning the area, ensuring there were no hidden dangers lurking in the debris. The victory felt electric, a surge of energy that coursed through them all. "Did we really do it?" Lee asked, her eyes wide with disbelief. "We beat them!" Bonner nodded, a smile breaking across his face. "Yes, we did. We showed them that Earth is not to be underestimated." He couldn't help but feel a swell of pride for his team. They had faced a powerful enemy and had not only survived, but thrived. As they caught their breath, the reality of the battle began to sink in. There were losses. Bonner's thoughts turned to the fallen soldiers, friends who had fought bravely alongside them. His heart ached for Bonner's squad mate, Wilson, who had given his life during the battle. The memories of laughter and camaraderie flooded his mind, reminding him of the joy and strength they shared. He knew they would carry this weight forever. "Let's take a moment," Bonner suggested, gathering his team. "We should honor our fallen comrades." They all stood silently, their heads bowed, remembering those who had fought and sacrificed everything for the mission. It was a moment of reflection, a reminder of why they had fought so hard. After a few moments, Marco spoke up. "We owe it to them to keep going. They fought for us, and we need to keep fighting for Earth." His voice was steady, filled with resolve. The others nodded in agreement. This victory was not just theirs. It was for all who had fought and died to protect their home. With a renewed sense of purpose, they began to check their surroundings, ensuring the area was secure. Sarah pulled out her device, tapping away to gather data from the battle. "I want to analyze everything we did. There's so much we can learn from this," she said, her eyes focused on the screen. Bonner walked over to her, glancing at the readouts. "Good thinking, Sarah. Understanding our strengths and weaknesses will help us in future battles." The importance of knowledge and strategy weighed heavily on him. They had won today, but the universe was vast, and threats would continue to emerge. As the dust settled and the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, Bonner gathered the team again. "What we accomplished today is monumental, but let's not forget the bigger picture. We have to prepare for what's next." Lee piped up, "What if they come back? What if there are more ships?" The worry in her voice was palpable, and Bonner understood her concern. "We will be ready," Bonner reassured them. "This was just the beginning. We've proven that we can fight back. We have to train harder, work together, and learn everything we can." In that moment, Bonner felt a sense of determination wash over him. They were no longer just Earth soldiers. They were warriors, united against a common threat. He looked at his team, their faces filled with resolve and spirit. They had formed a bond stronger than ever, one forged in the heat of battle. As they began to plan their next steps, Bonner felt a flicker of hope ignite within him. Humanity might be seen as the underdog, but they had shown their strength today. They had stood up to a powerful enemy and had emerged victorious. Together, they could face anything that lay ahead. The stars began to twinkle in the night sky, a vast canvas of possibilities. Bonner looked up, feeling a sense of peace settle in. They were not just fighting for Earth, they were fighting for the future. And with the strength of his team beside him, he knew they would continue to rise, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. In that moment of reflection, Bonner understood that victory was not just about winning battles, it was about resilience, hope, and the unbreakable spirit of humanity. The fight was far from over, but they were prepared to meet it head-on together. The universe had underestimated them once, but it would never make that mistake again. They were Earth's defenders, and they would fight until the end.